Welcome back to another episode of Mom Talk. I asked Victoria if we could cover a true crime documentary today. Don't worry, we're not going to turn into that as a podcast, but
just this one episode.
It involves like a mother and child.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to talk about it because you followed it back in the day, even though you were 8.
I mean, I was in 3rd grade.
Okay, so this happened in 2002. So you were 3rd grade?
In the winter of 2002?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so winter of 2002, yes, 3rd grade.
Okay. I was about to graduate.
My grade matched my year.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
In 03, I was in 3rd grade.
And I was graduating high school.
That's where it really sounds like we're a lot
different age. Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this the other day actually because Emma and Remy are that far apart.
What?
Yeah.
So weird.
I was like, maybe one day.
Yes.
Okay, so this documentary came back out on Netflix. I'm sure there's 100 million. There's a new one out because his case is picked up again by the Innocence Project.
Wait, did we say who this was for?
Did I say Laci Peterson? Y'all, this is why we're not doing true crime. We are doing the Laci Peterson, Scott Peterson case.
Yes.
And she was 8 months pregnant
and he killed her.
Went missing.
No, he killed her.
Okay, so Victoria already has her decision.
I do.
Made up. So I watched the one documentary.
Okay.
Then I went so down the rabbit hole because I didn't follow this at all. I knew the name.
Right.
Somebody was telling me about it and they were like, some Laci Peterson. I was like, oh, I definitely know the name, but I just didn't know what was going on with it. Then there's another one on Peacock that I had to go back and watch because I think it was more from his family paying for it or however that works because Netflix definitely made him look like he did it.
Well, that's what happens when you did it.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. 2002, 8 months pregnant.
Yes.
She goes missing. Christmas Day.
Yep.
He went fishing.
You know, that's weird.
I know they're in California. I've never lived in California. Maybe it's a little warmer. I just still find that strange.
Yep.
That was my first red flag. He's out fishing on a boat.
Also, didn't they find her body in said lake, river, whatever?
In the bay.
In the bay.
Yes. So he bought this boat December 9th. Brand new boat.
Because he knew what he was doing.
Premeditated.
Yeah.
The detective is questioning him, and he is ready with his receipts. But I was at the marina. Here's my receipt.
Well, so weird because her body's there.
Then
he
was like, listen to this voicemail I sent her. I was like, that's so planned. And you tell me if this is right or wrong, but 4 or 5 years into being married, when you call your husband and your wife, how are you leaving them a voicemail?
You're not.
His was like, hi, beautiful. I'm on my way home. I'm not going to get to stop at whoever's house I was supposed to stop at. If you want to, love you, sweetie. Just dripping with all the niceness. I was like,
see, okay, I could play you a voicemail right now. Jarrett and I have only been married 6 years, but I don't know what he did, but he had made me mad. And he did leave me a voicemail.
Like that?
It was very nice, and it was like, I'm sorry I upset you. It was apologetic.
Okay.
But would he, call to say stop at somebody's house? Because I didn't get to, no.
Right, with all the beautiful and I love you.
You know, Jarrett calls me beautiful so much that Mason literally thought that was my name. My name is not Victoria.
Okay, so people
do that.
are out here doing it.
I still don't think. Scott Peterson.
I just think that voicemail was meant for the detective to hear and not for Laci to hear.
No, he knew what he was doing.
Okay.
Again.
He comes home after his day out of fishing, and she may or may not have been home in his mind. He left her there, and she was going to go walk their dog at the park, which was a house down from their house. I don't think she was going crazy far. Then she was just going to come back home and get ready for Christmas. So also when he gets home and her car's there, I would find that strange she's not there.
Yeah.
He didn't think that was strange, he said.
Is she still walking the dog?
She could have been at her mom's. No, because when he got home, the dog was in the backyard, but with its leash still on, which he found strange.
That is strange.
Okay. He gets home and he washes his clothes. He did it. He did it. No dude is coming straight home and washing their own clothes.
Okay, not even tossing a load in, but let me take the ones I'm currently wearing off and put them in. Nobody.
That's what he did.
Nope. If you murdered someone, you would.
Yeah, you got to get those clothes off.
Quickly.
They didn't even touch on that in the documentary, and I was like, I already know. Okay. He came straight home and did his laundry. He is the killer. Then he has like pizza and milk or something. He's still chilling. Like he's home for hours and then calls her mom and says she's missing. Why would you say she's missing? Why wouldn't you say,
hey, is
she
Laci
there?
over there?
You seen her?
Heard from her? And how many times did he try calling her?
That was the only one voicemail.
Because that's the thing. When you call multiple times.
Right. Okay, let's back this up though to 2002. Cell phones were not like they were now. Because even when the police officer asked for her cell phone, he's like, I think it's in her car. Like, I don't think that we were all carrying them around as much back then.
Could you text?
Maybe the T9.
Okay, I did do the T9.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a phone in 3rd grade.
Oh my God. I literally got my phone my senior year when I could drive. So
Okay.
0203.
Yeah.
And it was the old T9. Mm-hmm. So they didn't mention anything else on the cell phone. But then obviously he's calling everybody that
So
she's
he calls
missing.
the mom, and what the mom say? What do you mean?
Yeah, she's like, what do you mean? But of course, she's a mom. She heads straight on over. She's going to go look through that park. And her immediate thought is, man, sometimes there have been homeless people there. There's also like, it's muddy. Did she fall?
Right.
So we are investigating the park. We are calling the police. Everybody's coming that night. It's late. It's dark. But they're looking all around. And they start like, canvassing the neighbors and things like that. The dog was actually put in the back fence from a neighbor. The neighbor's like, I saw the dog out. I just put him in the back fence for them. So that's why the dog still had a leash on.
Okay.
Okay. Then that's their like time frame marker of the day for when this lady says, I think I put the dog up at like 10:18. So that's their marker of, oh, she had to be gone before that.
Yeah.
That's what they think. So that's their starting point. Basically, the detective's first job is to mark Scott off as a victim. I mean,
a victim.
I'm sorry, as the murderer.
Well, he is the murderer. Case closed.
Yeah, so they said that he was like cooperative to a point, and then he wouldn't be anymore. Like, he let them come in the house and search that night, but the next day when they came back with a warrant, he's like, you don't expect me to sign that, do you? And they're like, well, we don't really need you to. Basically, we're just seeing if you would. So they still searched the whole house. They got a warrant also for his shop, which is where he kept the boat. And he was fine for them to see the boat. There was no sign of struggle in the house, no sign of struggle in the shop. The only thing they found at the shop originally was one of her hairs wrapped in a needle nose plier in the boat, which he immediately was like, well, she's seen the boat. She's been here. Then they found he had done a homemade anchor. I'm not a fisher. I've never heard of that. But it's basically like in a paint can. You're just pouring the cement in there, letting it harden, and you put a little handle on it.
Good.
He said, yes, I made one for my boat when I go fishing. But there were marks of 5 of them being made. They're like, where's the other ones? He's like, I didn't make 5.
Okay, but you did.
You did. So they didn't really get anywhere with him. They're trying to like ask people if you've seen this pregnant woman walking around the neighborhood with her dog. And actually some people did, but I don't think they were like, oh, that was for sure Laci.
Yeah.
Which still, I mean, an 8-month pregnant woman, it's probably going to match up. Also, in the meantime, they found out about the next door neighbor's house being broken into while they were gone. So we're trying to like, okay, is that tied to it? Did she come upon them? Or, what happened there? Basically, the police marked that off. Like, they found the robbers. They questioned them, this and that. Like,
And Scott didn't hire the robbers?
I don't know. So they marked that out. And then they're going by the lady's timeline with the dog and his timeline with the boat. And they think she had to have died before the 10/18 sighting. Like, they think Scott did this before 10/18.
Yeah.
So then the investigators are trying to line that up. They're not really trying to get him off anymore. Like, they have narrowed it down to him.
Yeah.
For the first couple weeks, her family was like, absolutely not. He would never. And then they were like, they made a public statement. We are no longer
Supporting him.
right. because it's not adding up. They just saw how he acted. He was just like so deadpan the whole time, like very calm.
I swear to you, as you're talking, the voicemail, the milk with pizza, and being
Is
so
it not
calm,
Jarrett?
It's Jarrett. Jarrett?
Oh my gosh.
So if something happens to me, I just want it to go on record.
On record here today.
Jarrett did it.
Yeah, he never changed his demeanor. He wasn't panicky. He didn't cry. He was just...
Jarrett, yeah.
He was just Jarrett. So, he said where he went fishing. Also, search on his computer was, what are the bay tides? The tides of the bay where I'm going fishing. And he was like, that's for fishing. I was like, or dumping the body?
Yeah.
So, nobody saw him there. Nobody saw him do anything. Finally, the body, and I say the body loosely, washed up because it was just her torso. The baby was separate.
But they found it.
They found the baby first, her about a mile down, but she had no head, no arms, and no foot. And immediately I'm like, that's where he tied the anchors.
Yeah.
He allegedly, we don't know who did it, someone cut her stomach. So her organs had come out of her body.
Oh, and the baby.
And, don't look at my research history right now because it would be how fast does the body decompose? Because
Right.
I was just wondering how this all happened, but it says in the water super fast, and if she's already bleeding, super fast. So I just feel like these anchors took down each limb. Mm-hmm. So the baby was in there a while, a little bit longer, so he wasn't as decomposed. So they found both of them, DNA, it's them, in the bay where you said you were going fishing. But they only had circumstantial evidence. Like, they didn't even know how she died. They didn't know where. No weapon. No sign of struggle. Nothing.
Okay, but did we search the bay for the cans?
Yes, they did. So since I watched 2 documentaries, I don't remember which one said which, but originally they said they couldn't find anything, and like basically how hard it is to find these things, even if you know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
The other documentary, the guy who was working the boat said, we found 2 homemade anchors, but they were immediately decided those weren't it and literally threw them back in the bay and then could never find them again. I'm like, what? Why wouldn't you even bring them in?
Weird.
Wild to me.
Okay.
Also, comparing the 2 documentaries, there is a man that checked out more about the burglary, the van that was out front of the house with the people in it, and it was torched basically after the burglary. So he's like, that tells me a lot right there. And there was a mattress in the back of the van that had never been looked at. He tested it for blood and it popped up. There was blood on the mattress. So in his mind, he's like, that should have been taken further into DNA testing. He's like, I feel like that was just pushed to the side. So that one was definitely in the documentary where Scott's family thinks he's innocent. Mm-hmm. So they're saying all these things fell through the crack that could have led you to believe it was not him. And his family is holding strong. His sister-in-law became an attorney so she could help with his case.
Wow.
And that was, like, to me, I'm like, the sister-in-law? Like, not the brother or the sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Like, she's on it. The sister-in-law and the sister are, like, still, like, 100% sure he did not do it. They're going to exonerate him. They've been doing this for 20-something years now. And finally, this Innocence Project picked it up. And they're like, they would not pick that up unless he was innocent. So they think they have, like, a really good case. And they are, like, ordering all this DNA to be retested or originally tested, like the mattress. Mm-hmm. Where have these things been for 20 years?
Locked up.
I mean, if they didn't think the burglary had anything to do with it.
Right.
Is the van and the mattress still in, like, custody? Or is it, like, been gone? Like, I
have no idea.
That's so crazy to think about. Like,
yeah.
How are they going to get this stuff from 20 years ago?
And how accurate is that going to be?
I know.
So weird.
He does still maintain his innocence.
Didn't he have a mistress?
Oh, I forgot. That blew the case
wide. Hold up.
That blew the case wide open because
Yeah.
he was like, they all thought so highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, he had been dating her or speaking to her around October, November. It wasn't like super long, but yes, he had relationships with Amber Frey.
Okay.
So I knew that name too.
Yeah.
She had no idea. Like, everybody was like hating on her. She's like, I did not know he was married. I got set up by somebody to meet him and thought he was so great.
And he never once wanted to mention his wife was super pregnant.
He never mentioned he had a wife.
Yeah.
So definitely not pregnant.
Yeah.
Also, her mom said that before they got pregnant, Laci was crying because he did not want to have kids. And then 6 months later, they were pregnant. And her mom was like, but what happened? She's like, he changed his mind. I'm like, ooh, did he? Or is this like the cause of the whole thing?
Yeah.
But also, Amber already had a child, so I found that strange if he really didn't want kids.
You don't like kids.
Yeah. So they did not even live in the same city. He and Amber, he would travel for work, work, go see her.
Yeah.
So this last Christmas, right before Laci died, she was at a Christmas party with her friends, but without him because he was working, aka he was with Amber at her Christmas party.
Wow.
That one really got me. So she gets wind of all this happening and is like, oh my gosh, like that's him. He does come to tell her he's married. And he says, but my wife's missing. It'll be my first Christmas without her. But when he tells Amber that, it's before she's actually missing.
Okay. And did he like say that in a text? Is that in writing? Or like is it Amber's word?
Okay. They start recording him. He wasn't recorded at that time. But when she tells the police, they're immediately like, we got to get a recorder. The investigator's like, I went to the Radio Shack. I'm like, well, that's throwback. So literally it's just like a press record cassette tape.
Okay.
When he calls. So originally she's just still keeping in touch with him, casual, whatever. Then she's like, I know what's going on. And he's like, I'm not that evil. She's like, but you told me your wife went missing before she even was missing. But they could not get a confession out of him. So that kind of, she didn't have to do that anymore. But she was like a huge part of like one of their biggest witnesses to be like, yes, I was with him. They listened to like the 23 hours of their tape.
Wow.
She was like, I did not expect that in the courtroom. But I mean, that's when you learn like, oh, this guy that you think is so trustworthy is absolutely not.
Right.
So it's got everybody doubting. So I don't remember how long the trial lasted or anything like that. But, the people were gathered waiting like for him to be
convicted.
Yeah. So people were just like so happy and yelling and screaming that I believe all the jurors voted that.
Okay.
Because then they had to come back and vote for the death penalty or not. And they did originally vote for the death penalty for him. He said that he was surprised because he didn't do it. But his lawyer, I think, was surprised because it was only circumstantial evidence. Like there was nothing that could really nail it down. I mean, obviously the whole timeline and you put the pieces together. Yes, it does sound like him. But he was surprised that they all agreed.
I mean, when it sounds shady enough.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, yeah, that's shady enough.
They did even have some jurors back on the documentary, and one of the guys was like, I truly did not even think about the affair. He's like, I'm just thinking about all the puzzle pieces.
Right.
Yeah. So he was saying he was not impartial or anything like that.
So the Innocence Project has picked it up, and now what?
She's asking for all these DNA things to be.
And will there be a new court date, or like could a piece of DNA on a mattress like clear him?
So the sister-in-law feels like if they get that DNA on the mattress that it is Laci, that exonerates Scott.
Okay, but what if Scott hired the burglars?
Right. What if he did?
What if he was the burglar?
Oh, yeah.
What if it was his van, his mattress?
All of it. So we still couldn't, solving the case.
You're on the case.
Couldn't figure out, like, where did it start? Like, if her dog was loose, like, was she on a walk? Can he stop to pick her up? Or you think he just let the dog out after he, like, strangled her in the house? Because there was no blood or anything. Like, no cleanup.
Yeah, he probably, like, strangled her or drugged her.
I'm like, 8 months pregnant?
Did they have a garage? Like, did he just put the body in the car, like, in the garage?
So one of the theories was that he wrapped her body in the tarp, and put it in the back of the truck. because there was some stuff he was going to haul off in there too.
Of course. Yeah, my wife.
Yes.
An unborn child.
Yeah, so that was one of their theories, was like he did strangle her in the house.
Yeah.
And put her in the back of the truck and take her. But on the Peacock documentary, he is on it, on a Zoom call from the prison.
And what does he say?
He's got more personality than he ever did originally. So it's so strange. I'm like, are you you're like totally putting on an acting show here to like look like the opposite of what they thought beforehand?
Right.
He was like, of course I'm so sad. I was just trying to, be calm and not break down in front of everybody. He was like, I remember that day. I thought we were going to have a good Christmas together. Like, after I went out and she went out and did her thing. Like, it was the most he, like, spoke the whole time.
And her family is still like, no, he did it.
Oh, yeah. So now that they're basically dredging this back up again, the mom was like, when is it ever going to end?
Right.
She was like, I know he did it.
Yeah.
She started feeling it before she said it out loud, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And she has stayed tight on that ever since they said it out loud.
Yeah.
So mom is not going back. I did not show his mom. I'm not sure, she may have passed. But the sisters and the brother were still doing it.
Dang.
I know, because they were like, most families can't even continue any appeal processes after because it's so expensive. So I'm not sure what they do, but maybe they've got some money.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you remember this when you were watching it, but when they finally like found the bodies and then arrested him, like they arrested him before the DNA was in, he was staying at his sister's in San Diego. Well, San Diego is like on the border, like you're about to go to Tijuana
Mexico.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all thought, oh my gosh, he's running. Like, we have to go get him right now. The sister was like, no, like he stayed here several times throughout this.
Yeah.
But in his car, it was like a go bag. It was a go car. Like,
Scott.
It was 10,000 cash, multiple cell phones. Had his brother's ID, because remember when he dyed his hair blonde?
Oh,
he
yeah.
to look different. But everything you could say on why he's guilty, they could say on why he's not. She's like, he dyed his hair because he was tired of getting like harassed and followed. He had the 10,000 cash because he sold his truck. So he still had the cash. He had his brother's ID because they were going golfing, and if you're out of the county, you have to pay more. So he was going to use his, like, everything they had a back and forth for.
But at the end of the day, he killed his wife.
How could you be his sister and sister-in-law and, like, not question it? You think they do and just won't say it?
The blinders can't be that strong, right?
I'm like,
Did the family like Laci? Because, again, back to Jarrett, the family would absolutely, I think, be on Jarrett's side.
I mean, they said they loved her.
Even if all the evidence was there.
They said they loved her.
Okay, well.
They said they didn't even have time to grieve her because it's, like, while they're looking for her, now they've turned it to Scott. So, like, we feel like we had to protect him.
Okay. Then they didn't really, love her.
You don't think they really cared about her?
I mean, you can say whatever you want when you're the only people talking.
Yeah. I never heard her family comment on his family. Mm-hmm. The mom liked him. She's like, he was my son-in-law. Like, I thought he treated her well, whatever.
And how long were they married?
4 or 5 years, I think. Because somebody else, like, described them as, like, still newlyweds. Who were like, after 4 years, they still just seem so happy.
Yeah.
But that's when her friends started having babies, and she wanted a baby, and he didn't, and then magically he did.
And then magically he didn't kill her.
Right. I'm just truly trying to watch it with both eyes, and I'm like, what if this dude is really innocent?
Do you think he could be?
Well, like with everything they said, like I said, you can look at it this way or look at it this way. I'm like, wow, what if it was just a random burglar and she saw it happen?
But it wasn't.
But then I was like, but why would they take her to the bay where he went?
Right, he didn't see him there? He didn't see the burglars with his wife?
But their response to that was they had immediately put out his marina or the bay ticket that he purchased. He was like, so everybody knew where I was if they wanted to blame me. I was like, huh. So 90% I think it's him. 10% I could see it just be something so crazy.
No, he did that. 100%. Like, there's no...
You're 100%.
There's no 10% for me.
Okay. Because they even, I told you that the people in the neighborhood that saw her, like, didn't say, oh, that's Laci Peterson. But the 4 people that saw her identified pregnant, color shirt, color pants, and the type of dog she had. And if they are right, it was after he left for fishing is why that was important. So I'm just like, whoa, what if?
I still just think maybe he, like, had the burglars pop her in the van and then drive the van, meet me at this marina.
Okay, so even if he didn't physically do it, you're like, he did it.
He orchestrated her death.
Okay. Now I can be on board with that.
Like, I think he probably strapped his homemade anchors to her body and tossed her in.
Yes.
But also, I've seen pictures of him. He's not like some like super tall, buff looking guy to me.
No, he's average.
He would probably need help to get an 8-month pregnant woman chained up and dropped into the water.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like he would need help. So he hired these burglars to stage a burglary next door, pop her in the back of the van real quick. Somebody else can strangle her or knock her out or give her drugs on the way there. He anchors her up, tosses her in the water. But he did it.
Okay, he did it.
She could have been on the mattress. The burglars could have been there. Yeah, all that could be true. But at the end of the day, Scott orchestrated whatever happened to her.
Well, I cannot wait for this, like, Innocence Project, whatever.
Do you ever think about, like, when I get to heaven, I'm going to know the answer to this?
I have literally never thought that about a true crime documentary, but...
Like, I've thought that about several. I'm like, one day I'm going to get to know the answers about all these things.
Well, you do love. You've followed several cases.
Yeah.
We should probably touch on them more if people like this one.
Okay.
And y'all definitely have to tell us whether he did it or not.
We're going to put a poll up.
Yes.
On this episode, like on Spotify, there's a way to add a poll to an episode.
Yes.
So go on there and vote on this episode in the poll, innocent or guilty.
And you can watch it, if you don't know about it, you can watch it on Netflix or Peacock. Okay. Well, thank y'all for listening to us rambling about us being investigators. And don't forget to follow us on Apple, Spotify, and our Instagram. Thanks.
Bye.